Hi, I'm Shane Jacobson, and tonight's Australian story is about a childhood hero of mine, Mr. Gary McDonald, whom I had the pleasure of working alongside in the theatre musical Guys and Dolls. I, like so many of us, grew up watching and laughing at Gary's outrageous character, Norman Gunston. Well, in this special program for Mental Health Week, Gary chooses to speak out about an issue that many keep to themselves.
I more or less moved down here after I had that nervous breakdown in the 90s.
His recovery wasn't smooth sailing. There was definitely many ups and downs.
What do I like about this place? I think that it's not Sydney. I've got 5 acres, I've got chooks that run everywhere. And I've got a dog that can run around all over the place. And, you know, it's a lovely lifestyle. And, like, the garden, I'm busy. I'm busy here all the time.
I think Dad loves it because it's quite isolated, it's quite secluded. And so he can just potter around and it's just peaceful and beautiful. Dad talks about being in the moment. So if you're washing dishes, you're washing dishes. So if you're gardening, that's what you're doing, and your focus is there. And I guess it keeps your thoughts clear and free of junk.
I don't know whether I'm cured or what, but I see the early signs of it. I really recognise the early signs of it now. You do have to observe yourself. You really do need to examine how your mind works. You need to watch and not just think that it's an entity that can be allowed to do its own thing.
I think Dad would be quite vigilant with watching his thinking because he knows where it can take you.
Long as I remember, the rain's been pouring down, clouds of misery pouring.
I think the soundtrack for Dad is Could I Have Done More? Could I have pushed my career harder? That's probably his soundtrack that plays a lot, that he needs to turn off.
Sit down. Sit down. He said, sit down, 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 sit down.
Gary's one of those rare talents who can do comedy and drama and do it for film, television and theatre. But not only can he do all those, but he's mastered them all. That's pretty rare.
All these words have lost their essential meaning. This is how the world will end, not with a bang, but with a diminished verbal response capability.
You're my biological daughter. Father! You're my biological father.
Gary will always be remembered and loved for playing his iconic nutbag character, Norman Gunston.
Oh, so you're crying.
With Norman and the kind of live wire act that it is to do that sort of comedy, it would have to be incredibly stressful to be working at that level in those situations.
Is this an affront to the Constitution of this country?
And that character, I think, is just, absolutely in the DNA of Australian comedy now.
Oh, it's Norman! Well, what was the decision?
Well, look, I'll tell you what, we needed you to do an in-depth interview.
Well,
because nobody but you could have got the truth out of Whitlam.
You hear that? You hear that?
Yeah, you've got to be tough. You really got to believe in yourself. It's like, you're being judged all the time.
tell you the truth, I wouldn't mind some adult company around here for a change.
Thanks. Excuse me while I go in here and put my toys away.
Gary has a natural vulnerability which is underneath quite a degree of confidence. I mean, Gary knows that he has a high level of ability, but he has a perfectionism that goes with that creates anxiety, so that he's always worried that he's done something as well as he should have, or as well as the moment demanded.
And that's what makes him such a good comic. And so, in a way, his strength can sometimes also be his undoing. That strive for perfectionism, that need to make sure every moment works, and the anxiety that came with that can also undermine you and destroy you as well if you're not careful.
Gary, he could always entertain you, even if he was naughty. Always showing off.
He was into comedy. It was amazing. At school, it was unbelievable.
When you look back, you can see that's what he was meant to do.
Yes.
He wouldn't have ever been happy at anything else.
I was an extremely attractive young child. I had hair. That's enough to make me attractive. I had blonde hair. And protruding teeth, unfortunately. I was a bugger of a kid. I had quite a cutting sense of humour as a child. I mean, you could see where Norman came from. And my tongue was my greatest weapon because I was slight. And yet I was incredibly sensitive, and I still am. But I could dish it out.
Gary used to catch the bus, the old double-decker buses, down to Cranbrook. And I believe the upper deck would be roaring with laughter by the time it got to Cranbrook with Gary's antics and his quick wit. He just had it.
The best performance he's ever done was to meet and marry Diane Craig. If nothing else was great, that was.
I remember the day I met her, it was like you couldn't talk. She was just so beautiful. And I didn't talk to her from then on. She had a leading man that wouldn't talk to her.
I found him very appealing, but he didn't actually say much to me for quite some time. And it wasn't until the play had actually opened that he did start talking, and that we did get to know each other.
But otherwise, oh boy, I probably would have gone through the whole run without talking to her. It's too beautiful. Should be a law.
By the time we came back to Sydney, we were pretty firmly an item, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah, we were 23 and 22 when we had our first child, David. And then 3 years later we had Kate. And I guess in a way, I don't think I was such a great father or such a supportive husband. I mean, once the career took off, I really got into that in a big way.
Gary's Norman Gunston is one of the most incredible creations we have in Australia. Extremely daring, extremely bold, vulgar when necessary.
Okay. Thanks very much. Can I have a little bit of shush up the back, please?
I don't know how he did it, nor, knowing Gary as I do, how he had the courage to push into all those situations. And that, of course, is because he had another persona, didn't he? He had Norman Gunston, which can and did indeed hide Gary and all Gary's fears very beautifully.
You act like Joe Frazier sent you here to aggravate. Are you looking for trouble?
No, I'm not looking for trouble.
Are you looking for trouble?
No, not at all, Mr. Ali.
Well, don't give me no trouble.
I'm not giving you any trouble.
You got a cut and you've been shaving yourself. You got cuts all over you. That's just what Joe Frazier's gonna have. Cuts all over, but it won't be from a razor. It'll be from my left jaw. It'll be from my left jaw.
Okay. Did you ever have Beatlemania, Mrs. McCartney?
Constantly.
Oh, which one of them was your favourite? You know, before you were related or anything, you know.
Mick Jagger.
Was it? Mick Jagger was. Oh, there you are. I think she got him on the rebound. The marriage is okay, bud, isn't it? The marriage is okay. You know?
Well, it's all right, but you're not helping them.
It's funny, you know, you don't look Japanese.
Why it was so popular, I don't really know. I think the vulnerability was part of it. There was something terribly Australian about the sort of gormlessness as well.
How long have you been here for?
I've been here for, I don't know, because my time is a little mixed up, but I know I got here today.
Oh. And you haven't made it with any Australian ladies?
No. Have you?
Oh, no.
Yes, Norman hated sex. Ooh. There's a lot about Norman that's really interesting. It's like deep down there's some seed there, you know, the whole sort of discomfort with sex. I mean, I quite like doing it, but, you know, it's very interesting. It's just sort of like an exaggeration of myself in a way. Of course it is. It's my clown.
There were times when he would get very stressed. I mean, the early shows too went live to air, and quite often scripts weren't finalised until the last minute. There was a lot of pressure.
Oh, fatherland, fatherland, show us the sign your children have waited to see.
I had my first anxiety attack when I was 22 after smoking some hashish, and it was pretty bloody powerful. And I think that was the start of the insecurity, of the sort of suddenly I became terribly self-aware and lost a certain edge of confidence. And it kind of was there on and off for years, and it came back very strongly with when I started to put myself really out there with Norman. The anxiety came back quite strongly. And the more sort of successful I got, the more anxious I got, because I thought there was more at stake. I got to the stage where by series 3, I got onto tranquilizers for a while there, Valiums and Serapax and Mogadon. And it was actually 4 years before people would think of me as anything but Norman.
All right, you win. I'm late, but I'll get you some milk and then I'll go out.
But then Mother and Son took off, and that was it. It was the continuity. It's the continuity that the audience need to break the mould.
One lot of milk will do, surely.
I wasn't going to get you the second time. It's like talking to a revolving door.
Anxiety started to come back again midway through Mother and Son. I was getting really bad. I mean, really out of all proportion. I mean, that was a bit of a warning. I started to go and see someone then. I went and saw a psychologist about it, and but it still was happening.
He's probably one of the most personally exacting actors that I've ever dealt with. While we were making the Mother and Son series, quite often I'd drive Gary home, and on the way home, the conversation would be mostly from Gary, talking about the moments that he didn't think he got quite right, or that it would often start with him saying, I missed that point. I should have got it. I think the price for perfectionism is the pain that you experience when you don't reach the levels of perfection that you hope to.
I hate to think where this will lead next. Robbing banks, I suppose, or knocking old ladies down in the street, or, yes, that other one. What do they call it when you murder your mother?
Instant relief.
And it was a fantastic show, and I loved doing it. I absolutely loved doing Mother and Son. But there was this little fella inside of me that was constantly saying, oh, everyone just thinks Ruth's funny, they don't think you're funny. And, you know, I mean, I may as well be honest about it. And so I thought, I want to do some of the broad stuff again.
And bouncing live across Australia with a brand new Lisa Chuck Life, it's the Norman Gunston Show. You can tell my arms, get back onto the farm. You can tell my feet to hit the floor.
And the reason I brought Norman back, it was just jealousy. I mean, I felt that I was the second banana in Mother and Son. And I just found it extraordinarily stressful, and because by then I have had this perfectionist strain, so that, you know, in the end nothing was quite good enough.
It's funny, you know. I thought I'd be nervous, but nope. TV's like falling off a bike.
Once you've done it, you never forget how. Yeah, good money in it these days, but yeah, falling off a bike, not TV. Not anymore, no. It's terrible money in TV. No perks.
And the writer walked out of the Gunston show about 3 or 4 days before it went to air. So I had the breakdown, and then eventually I snapped over into major depression. And that was appalling. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. You'd wake up in the, William Styron calls it, darkness visible, I think he calls it. And you wake up in the morning in this just dreadful, dreadful fog. And I'd come good about, I was able to do a couple of shows because I'd come good about 6 o'clock, but I couldn't rehearse. I couldn't rehearse dance numbers. I just was like, I'd be singing like this all the time. It was just appalling, you know. And it saps you of energy. It's like you've got this monumental hangover without the nausea.
After the first week or so, once it came to the day of the taping, he couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And it was awful. And it was an awful thing to try and deal with because having had no experience of, you know, this sort of thing, I didn't know what the best way to handle it was. I was totally at a loss.
And it was just like this bedroom in total darkness, like really heavy air too. It was just like shit a brick. You know, this isn't good. And it was just this frail little man sitting on his bed and just not there. I mean, he's never been the most physical specimen, but there was just nothing left.
Well, in some ways, it was the worst possible thing, the absolute worst possible thing to happen to Gary out of what he was trying to do in getting Norman Gunston back on the screen. To go back and then fail in the sense of having to pull the plug and say we're not going on with the series. Well, I can't imagine anything that would be worse than that.
And I was mortified that I was putting people out of work. Well, you know, I mean, and there were some people that had just joined the show and they'd given up other jobs. You know, it's like, oh God. But there was nothing I could do. I was a basket case. I became quite suicidal. You don't just suddenly take away whatever the stress is and suddenly it's all right. You know, you can be going really great guns and then suddenly this sort of suicidal thought will come out of nowhere, which was quite freaky. I fell in love with the South Coast. I used to come down here quite a bit, and that's when I decided that was it. Wouldn't come down here on my own anymore because I worked out ways of going up in the rainforest and topping myself. So I stayed with family. I stayed back home.
Yeah, but these eggs are just stunning.
It wasn't until I had the nervous breakdown that I found out what was wrong with me.
We saw, yeah.
I think we just thought, you know, he's having this midlife crisis breakdown. We had no other terminology that we could use to understand it. Because Dad was well known, people came out of the woodwork to help him.
We're doing 2 weeks.
We want you to come to the farm, but not for that long.
Eventually I was diagnosed with anxiety, which had tipped over into major depression.
Well, you should see me around the house. I die, you know, very unhappy.
Well, there's a terrible stigma with anxiety disorders. I mean, you are so ashamed. You are so ashamed that you are such a wuss. You're so frightened. It's an awful feeling, and you just feel like you're letting everyone down. Everyone will just think that you're absolutely a waste of space. Once I had a handle on it, there was a name, it was a disorder, I got terribly excited that I could do something about it. The treatment that I started having was cognitive behaviour therapy, or CBT. It's actually a technique. It seems very, very simple. They will just show you that you've got to look at your thoughts, what you're saying to yourself, and then you look at the truth behind that. So even when I'm going out fishing, I would often be telling myself negative things like, you know, you probably lose a fish or you won't catch a fish. So I'd have to say to myself, well, that's not true. I hardly ever lose a fish. And, you know, if I do lose it, so what? That happens. Mostly my mind would always be telling me that I was going to make a fool of myself, and people were going to, you know, were looking at me and saying, oh, God, that show he did last night was dreadful. And I guess you just go, oh, wait a minute, hang on, you know, I've done this many times before and I don't usually make a fool of myself. So you learn to actually question this rogue mind of yours and bring it, you know, tame it, domesticate it a bit more.
It was like how he attacks an acting role, just all in. All his focus suddenly was on CBT and anxiety and, you know, this is what it is and I can get on top of it. And he used that energy to help himself get better.
CBT changes your life. It gives you a life. And it's like, oh, God, where's this been? That's why I was like a complete evangelist with it.
They are born to be tougher than John Wayne. They don't want to share their emotional problems. And when I set up Beyond Blue in 2000, I wanted to put together a diversified board. And I was looking around for a person who was in the creative area.
We bring out a calendar. That was my idea. Men of anxiety, as you've never seen them before, all going the full fetal.
Gary suffered from anxiety, and therefore I approached him and asked him whether he would see fit to join, and he very graciously did.
At that time at Beyond Blue, one of our first things that we were doing was really community forums. Gary played a really important role in talking about his own lived experience and then talking and taking questions from the audience as well about what it was like, how he coped, how he managed, and the fact that this could happen to him let people know, well, it can happen to anyone. I think Gary was extremely brave to go public with his experience, and we've got to remember that back in 2000 people really weren't talking about their experiences so openly, and it was a big risk in terms of how it might colour your perception in the public.
He really, really wanted to help people. He was very passionate about that this can be cured. You don't have to keep on living with these anxious thoughts that can spiral into depression.
We've still got a long way to go with anxiety. People have got a good grasp on depression, but I think anxiety, it's still not really well understood.
I think anxiety still has a, oh, for God's sake, you know, wake up to yourself. And that usually works.
It's often just misperceived as just not being able to manage stress. And certainly Beyond Blue did a big campaign on anxiety. That was something I was involved in a couple of years ago.
I am the one that raises the whip to your already racing heart.
So the concept around the Ben Mendelsohn ad was all about personifying anxiety.
I'm the voice, you know, the one.
He's very captivating in the way that he really got your attention.
He's such a good actor. He's just got this amazing malevolence, hasn't he? He's fantastic.
He has.
What are you going to do about it?
In terms of how effective the anxiety ad has been, it's certainly got a lot of attention. But like with any health promotion campaign, you can't just expect that you're going to nail it in one hit and everyone's going to be educated.
But anxiety disorders have just never cottoned on to. And there doesn't seem to have been any amount of public campaigns that seems to get the message through.
They've refused bail. But they can't, can they? I just committed trespass, a fine, a reprimand.
Once that CBT clicked, it was interesting. I then took on jobs I'd never take on. Normally, I just push myself.
I'm not a terrorist.
Keating went to Redfern and told Australians they behaved like bastards to our Indigenous people. No votes in that. He just happened to believe in it.
I've had trouble with my hearing now for quite a while now. And I was finding it very difficult in rehearsals to hear any of the other actors, to hear the director, and the director be talking and you wouldn't get any of it, you know. And it just started to become an absolute pain.
The focus groups of racist bogans in Sydney's West who think a handful of wretched refugees are about to erect a mosque in their backyard.
The acting became harder. It's hard on stage for him to hear his cues. And I think that was starting to bring the anxiety back because it was affecting his performance.
Hang on. Sorry, I've got an elderly patient and I
started to stop doing certain things. No more theatre. I'm only going to, I said to my agent, I'm only doing television or film now.
Oh, well, can we meet again? Is it okay if I call you?
If they give me a job, great, but I'm not going to be testing for stuff anymore. So, sorry, just a little announcement there. One of the reasons why, I just don't want to test for anything anymore is like, it's just too hard being judged all the time, you know? And if you do look across and you see the look on their face, you know, it's like, oh, please, I don't want to know about that anymore. I think that's a really good marmalade.
Yeah. So what do you do with that?
Cut them in half, juice them, and then that all gets cut up and put into a muslin bag. How do I see myself now? Do I see myself as cured? I think I manage my anxiety. But I don't look at it as if like, oh God, every day I've got to, you know, go through the checklist, chocks away. No, managing is not difficult at all. All the big bits of sticks are a pain in the arse.
I think Mum and Dad have an awesome life. I don't think Dad has yet mastered the art of being easier on himself, that he can still get quite annoyed if things don't quite go the way that he thought they were going to go.
Oh, damn it, there's quite a few seeds got through. They're very small, those seeds. What I've learnt was that you just don't sail through life. You just don't drift along, and you've got to keep the mind under check.
Oh, here it comes. Okay.
And so self-awareness, a little bit of introspection is really good.
You can see how thick it is. It's far too thick. Far too thick.
Most actors are amateur psychologists anyway, really. They're always trying to work out why people are doing what they're doing, you know. I'm trying to work out why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm getting there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, go on, yeah, go on.
If this program has raised personal concerns, you may wish to contact one of these counsellors.